From translation. RSV Revised Standard Version, this 112th day of the year. Today we are reading passages 2 Kings 4-5, 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 to 44. Now a woman of the wives of the prophets cried to Elisha, "Your servant my husband is dead, and you know that your servant feared the Lord, but the creditor has come to take my 2 children to be his slaves." And Elisha said to her, "What shall I do for you? Tell me, what have you in the house?" And she said, "Your servant has nothing in the house but a pot of oil." Then he said, "Go, borrow vessels from all your neighbors, empty vessels and not too few. Then go in and shut the door on yourself and your sons, and pour into all these vessels. And when one is full, put it aside." So she went from him and shut the door on herself and her sons. They brought the vessels to her, and she kept pouring. And when the vessels were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." And he said to her, "There is not another vessel." Then the oil stopped flowing. She came and told the man of God, and he said, "Go, sell the oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on the rest." On one day Elisha went to Shunammite, where a wealthy woman lived, who urged him to eat some bread. And whenever he passed by, he used to turn aside there to eat. And she said to her husband, "I perceive that this is a holy man of God, who passes by us continually. Let us make a small room on the roof, and let him have a bed there, and a table and a chair and a lamp, so that when he comes to us he may go up there." One day he came there, and he turned into the chamber and lay there. And he said to Gehazi his servant, "Call this Shunammite." When he had called her, she stood before him. And he said to him, "Say now to her, Behold, you have been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for you? Would you have a word spoken on your behalf to the king or to the commander of the army?" She answered, "I dwell among my own people." And he said, "What then is to be done for her?" Gehazi answered, "Well, she has no son, and her husband is old." He said, "Call her." And when he had called her, she stood in the doorway. And he said, "At this season, when the time comes round, you shall embrace a son." And she said, "No, my lord, O man of God, do not lie to your servant." But the woman conceived, and she bore a son at that season the following year, as Elisha had said to her. And the child grew, and one day he went out to his father among the reapers. And he said to his father, "O my head, O my head." The father said to the servant, "Carry him to his mother." And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, the child sat on her lap till noon, and then he died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, and shut the door on him, and went out. And she called to her husband and said, "Send me one of the servants and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God and come back again." And he said, "Why will you go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath." She said, "It is well." Then she saddled the ass and said to her servant, "Drive on. Do not slacken for me unless I tell you." So she went and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. And when the man of God saw her coming, he said to Gehazi his servant, "Behold, yonder is the Shunammite. Run now, meet her, and say to her, Is it well with you? Is it well with your husband? Is it well with the child?" And she answered, "It is well." And when she came to the man of God at the mountain, she caught hold of his feet, and Gehazi came to thrust her away. But the man of God said, "Let her alone, for her soul is bitter within her, and the Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me." Then she said, "Did I ask my Lord for a son? Did I not say, 'Do not deceive me'?" He said to Gehazi, "Gird up your loins, and take my staff in your hand, and go. If you meet any man, do not greet him, and if anyone greets you, do not answer him. But lay my staff upon the child's face." Then the mother of the child said, "As the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So he arose and followed her. And Gehazi passed on before them and laid the staff upon the face of the child, but there was neither voice nor any response. Then he came back to meet him and told him, saying, "The child has not awakened." When Elisha came into the house, he saw the child lying dead upon his couch. So he went in and shut the door upon the 2 of them, and prayed to the Lord. And he went up and lay upon the child, and put his mouth upon his mouth, and his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands. And he stretched himself upon the child, and the flesh of the child became warm. Then he got up again, and walked once back and forth in the house, and went up and stretched himself upon him. And the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. Then he called Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite." So he called her, and when she came to him, he said, "Take up your son." And she came and fell at his feet and bowed to the ground, and she took up her son and went out. And Elisha came again to Gilgal, and there was a famine in the land, and the sons of the prophets were sitting before him. And he said to his servant, "Set on the great pot, and boil pottage for the sons of the prophets." Then one went out into the field to gather herbs, and found a wild vine, and gathered from it his lap full of wild gourds, and came and shred them into the pot of pottage, for they did not know what they were. And they poured out for the men to eat. But when they tasted of the pottage, they cried out, "O man of God, there is death in the pot," and they could not eat it. But he said, "Then bring meal." And he threw it into the pot, and said, "Pour out for the men, that they may eat." and there was nothing hurtful in the pot. A man came from Baal-Shalisha, bringing the man of God bread of the first fruits, 20 loaves of barley, and fresh ears of grain in his sack. And Elisha said, Give to the men that they may eat. But his servant said, How can I set this before 100 men? So he said, Give them to the men that they may eat, for thus says the Lord, They shall eat and have some left. So he set it before them, and they ate and had some left, according to the word of the Lord. 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 1 to 27. Now Naaman, captain of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man with his master and in high favor, because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man, though a mighty man of valor, was a leper. Now the Syrians had gone out on raids, and had brought back captive a little girl from the land of Israel, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said to her mistress, Would that my lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria. He would cure him of his leprosy. So Naaman went in and told his lord, saying, Thus and thus said the maiden who is from the land of Israel. And the king of Aram said, Go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel. So he went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, When this letter reaches you, know that I have sent to you Naaman my servant, that you may cure him of his leprosy. And when the king of Israel read the letter, he rent his clothes and said, Am I God to kill and make alive, that this man sends to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Only consider and see how he is seeking a quarrel with me. But when Elisha the man of God heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, he sent to the king, saying, Why have you rent your clothes? Let him come now to me, that he may know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots, and halted at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, Go and wash 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean. But Naaman was angry and went away, saying, Behold, I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and wave his hand over the place and cure the leper. Are not the rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. But his servants came near and said to him, My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much rather then when he tells you, Wash and be clean? So he went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God. And his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Then he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and he came and stood before him. And he said, Behold, I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. So now, I pray you, take a present from your servant. But he said, As the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. Then Naaman said, If not, let there, I pray, be given to your servant 2 mules' burden of earth. For your servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice to other gods, but to the Lord. In this thing, the Lord pardon your servant, that when my master goes into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leans on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, when I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, may the Lord pardon your servant in this thing. He said to him, Go in peace. But when Naaman had gone from him a short distance, Gehazi, the servant of Elisha the man of God, said, Behold, my master has spared this Naaman the Syrian, in not receiving from his hands what he brought. As the Lord lives, I will run after him and take something from him. So Gehazi followed Naaman. And when Naaman saw one running after him, he got down from the chariot to meet him and said, Is all well? And he said, All is well. My master has sent me to say, Behold, just now 2 young men of the sons of the prophets have come to me from the hill country of Ephraim. Give them, I pray you, a talent of silver and 2 changes of clothing. And Naaman said, Be pleased to take 2 talents. And urged him, and tied up 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of clothing, and laid them upon 2 of his servants, and they carried them before him. And when he came to the hill, he took them from their hand, and put them in the house. And he let the men go, and they departed. He went in and stood before his master. And Elisha said to him, Where have you been, Gehazi? And he said, Your servant did not go anywhere. But he said to him, Did not my heart go when the man turned from his chariot to meet you? Was it a time to accept money, and to accept garments, and olive orchards and vineyards, and sheep and oxen, and menservants and maidservants? Therefore the leprosy of Naaman shall cling to you, and to your descendants forever. And he went out from his presence a leper like snow.